Hey everyone, Larry Chen here. As you guys know, Pennzoil is a major sponsor of this channel. This year, they are pushing the Long May We Drive campaign. That means we're highlighting a lot of individuals that drive for a living, which means race car drivers, stunt drivers, anyone who's pushing the car to their limits. We featured our good friend Reese Millen and Zandara Kennedy. On this last episode, we're featuring my good friend Stefan Verdier. Who is a professional racing driver and a stunt driver. We caught up with him at his house. So you're saying this is actually where you built all your race cars?
That driveway, and I'll show you some pictures after, is where I built my first Subaru rally car and the drift Subaru car, and in that little garage. But that's where everything got built, and that was the only garage I had outside. So I even painted the car here, inside and outside. I had the little tent. I built a tent, a plastic tent, and did all the painting inside. Yeah.
This is just such a quaint suburbia Long Beach neighborhood.
Yeah. No,
you wouldn't expect race cars being built here.
But if you see the signs in the street, it says no vehicle over 6 feet. That's because of us, because we showed up the big trailer and everything, and the neighbor got tired of us. So now they put sign, we can't park anything over 6 feet tall.
No way.
Because they got pretty pissed off. So because, like you said, it's a really suburban area of Long Beach. We're right next to the university, but still, it's pretty quiet and everything. So.
But you're starting the race cars here.
But we're starting the race cars.
You're warming them up.
Everything. So we never drove them, or if we did, it was just one pass to make sure everything would work. But there was a long hours with the grinder and that kind of stuff at 1 in the morning, grinding stuff, cutting stuff.
So then the Long Beach race for you guys here, Formula Drift Long Beach, was a home race?
Oh yeah. I mean, it couldn't be any closer. We're 15 minutes from the track. So yeah, this is the garage. That's what the first car was built in that garage, the first rally car. And so
in here?
In that little space. I only half that space. And that was the first toolbox we had. And when I went to drifting, I got sponsored by Genius Tool. And those are still the same tools
this one
that I use for drifting to build the car and everything. So everything was here, and so yeah, that was X Game 12, I think, 2012. And oh yeah, you'll remember this one. Is it? No, that was my only win at Formula Drift in Sonoma, and so that was pretty fun.
This was such a historic moment, honestly. For you to be able to build a winning drift car here in this garage.
That's true. And
it could not be further from what's possible now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But in 2008, that was very possible. I remember it very clearly. That was at Sonoma.
Yeah.
And so while that sounds crazy, that's not the craziest part. The craziest part to me is that was also your rallycross car.
Yeah, and that's the reason people say, why did you pick a Subaru? Because the Subaru is not the greatest chassis for drifting. It's a four-wheel drive car, so the balance is completely different than, if you get a 240, it's so much easier car to drift. And the reason behind it, because I didn't have a lot of funding, everything was personal funding. I would work all day long, and the money I would make go into the racing. So if I was getting sponsors, it was just product, which didn't get you around. So I'm like, okay, I came from rally. I don't know if you see this. There's a door of a Subaru that I've destroyed. Mm-hmm. But if you look back there you go. Let me move the bottles. You see that little Mazda trophy over there?
Yeah.
That was my first rally car. The little thing, that Mazda.
What is it?
It's a Mazda 323 GTX. And that's how I kind of got into racing. I did a bit of open wheels before, but that was kind of my first race car. And I won a lot of rallies, local rallies with it. Then after that, I went to a Subaru. And that's how I got into Subaru. I built a production WRX in that garage. So when I was rallying, that's where I met Tanner and raced against Tanner and Reese. And we became pretty good friends. Then they went to drifting before me. And Tanner told me, hey, if you want to go into drifting, come over. And there's a spot at McKinney. Remember McKinney with the 240? So Tanner left McKinney to go to Papadakis. And so because there was a spot, so I got into McKinney. And we had one season. It was an awesome team, like family team. And they put...
I remember, actually, that's where I first met you. You want to talk about a walk down memory lane. The first time we actually really had a chance to interact was in China, of all places.
Oh, that's right. That was when we did we did the demo where the car blew up in practice.
In Beijing.
Beijing.
I remember they shipped this S13 240SX, it was yellow, to Beijing, where you actually flew in, drove it. That's kind of when I met a lot of people around the same time. And then that year, you also competed in Formula Drift with their actual competition vehicle.
The competition car.
Yeah. And then so you drove that for a couple years, and then that's when you decided, hey, it's a good idea to build your own car.
Well, it was, and yes, the problem with McKinney, like I said, it was a family team, and I honestly didn't do very good when I was with them, and it was me learning how to drift, not knowing how to set up a drift car and all that stuff. So they kind of ran out of budget, and they said, "Sorry, Steph, we can't do one more year." So I'm like, "Okay, let's build my own car." So that's where I'm like, "Okay, let's build a Subaru." Because of my rally background with that car, I'm like, I'm going to build an STI. That way I can go drift and can go rally. I can do the local rallies and everything. So build the car, and the car was, people say, "Oh, it's a beast." No, it was a stock STI. All the suspensions were up 100% stock. Rear differential was a welded STI stock diff. Gearbox was a stock gearbox STI. I just welded the center diff and removed the front diff to get less weight out of it. And everything, the front control arm was stock. The only way I could get more steering angle, because the four-wheel drive, so there's no steering angle, is I drilled the pickup point on the hub closer to the center so it can move. So it was still the stock hubs and everything. So I think I was getting 38-degree angle. That was my max. When now they're getting what? Now they forklift.
65,
they get 65. It's insane. So the car was bone stock. And so for me, it was a cheap way to run it because I could go to the local store and buy the parts. And it was an easy way to run it. And if I needed to go rally, I'd just take the gearbox out, put a stock with the front diff in, and I got a rally car. Unfortunately, the rally, because of money, I couldn't do both at the beginning because the car has to be street legal and to go rally. So I couldn't. So I only used it as a drift car. Then rallycross came in, and so now I'm like, initially I'm like, oh, I made a mistake to take that car because I couldn't get the mechanical grip out of the Subaru than people were getting out of the other cars or out of a rear-wheel drive car. So I'm like, it was working, but I had to be such on the edge all the time, and it was really hard to make it work. So I'm like, oh, it's a mistake to take that car. Then rallycross came in, and I'm like, oh, now I got the perfect car for it. Now finally I can do it. So just swapped when we did the first rallycross, which was Irwindale, I think it was. The first one.
Yes, I was there.
Yeah, with Marcus Gronholm was like the big names. And the only thing I did on that car is Crawford was building my engine, and they had a sequential gearbox. He said, okay, you can put the sequential in it. We changed the suspension from Tane suspension, gravel suspension on it, and that was it. We changed the gearbox.
And it was a huge jump and everything.
And the car would fly perfect. It would land. I mean, it was like, the car was made for it. It was amazing. And I remember, which I'm still proud of it, like my big deal, my 5 minutes, my 30 seconds of fame. Gronholm, world champion in rally, was in the Fiesta. And I passed him on the outside on the bank, like was it turn 3 or 4, like one where we line up for drifting. So I passed him in that bank on the outside and finished. And at the end of the race, he came out of his car, came to me and looked at my car, and my car was nothing special, nothing. And he looked at it and said, I can't believe you passed me with that piece of he was just stunned that I passed him with that car.
It was a drift car.
It was a drift car. And it's got this crazy handbrake. And but everything was like, that car was like, even the handbrake, I didn't have a, like now people have second set of calipers. Mine was plumbed straight into the system. So when I pulled the e-brake, I got feedback in the brake pedal. So anytime I would pull, he was in line. Every time I pulled the e-brake, I couldn't use the brakes because I couldn't. I didn't know how to build the second caliper. It was too much money, blah blah blah. So I'm like, okay, I can make it work. So I learned how to initiate without touching the brakes, and after that, I could release and play with it. So even the first year, it was still the cable brakes into the drums. It was not even the caliper. The first year I used the stock e-brake that I just put the levers vertical instead of flat, and that's how I did it. So everything on that car was like so simple. So anyway, we went to rallycross, and that car was good in rallycross. The motor has so much torque than the car was, even if handling-wise it wasn't the greatest, but it was good. We went to the X game. I was in the final. I was like second place in the final, and B and Tanner, and I think it was the last lap. My timing belt, coming over jump, the timing belt jumped and keep jumping, and I lost the power, and I went from second in like half a lap to fourth. Samuel passed me like 200 feet before I was dying. Anyway, but the car was good. I mean, it was a great car for rallycross, and I think that was it 2011, I think.
I think there was one that you were at the LA Coliseum.
Yeah, that's Coliseum. That was X game, and the weekend after that, we had to go to Vegas to go drift. And it was the exact same car. I brought it back here, took the tranny out, put my stock tranny back on, the drift suspension, which was just tarmac suspension, back on it, changed the front hub, boom, and we were in Vegas 2 days after to do the event.
That is even a crazier transformation than what Reese did, transforming his drift car to a Pikes Peak car.
Yes.
You changed it from two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
What blows me away is I don't think people really understand how difficult this is. And the fact that you had the energy and the time to do it, you were still doing a full-time job too?
Oh yeah, I had a full-time job. I had a screen printing company. So I would print t-shirts during the day. And that was the first one I did rally and build the car at night. When I got to drifting, I think it was the end. Because Tanner one day comes and he's like, oh, Steph, I'm working an event at El Toro for Chrysler. Why don't you come over and see what I do? Because I didn't know what he was doing outside the racing. And he was an instructor for Chrysler, and they were doing demo with Viper drifting and teaching people. And I'm like, wait a minute, how much they pay you a day to do this? And it kind of opened up to me. I'm like, I'm doing something wrong. So the next week, I sold my business. I'm like, that's it. I'm not doing T-shirts anymore, spending 10 hours a day printing T-shirts. I'm gone. And I said, I want to be an instructor like you on Arrive and Drive event. So I sold that stuff, and I was right, I think at the same time that I was starting to do the Subaru. And so I sold it, went into that business, a little bit of money I made, put in the car. But I think the car, the Subaru, I'm not kidding, I don't think it cost me more than 40 grand to build that car. Yeah, because I took two destroyed cars, one broke in the front, one in the back, cut them in half, and put it together and make the race car of it. And so I got the cars for nothing, and I got a lot of spare parts from it. So I would work either as an instructor during the day and then fly and work at night here. Yeah, like you said, there's absolutely no way now I will have the energy to do that.
So a couple of things. This is a good time to talk about this series that I'm actually doing with Pennzoil. They wanted me to highlight people that drive for a living. And this is a good part of the story where it actually becomes your job.
Yes.
Versus before, you were paying to drive.
Exactly. So no, absolutely. Like I've been a privateer all my life. So I was getting sponsors and everything, but never enough to make money out of it. It was product. The first time I got a big sponsor was actually that picture with Disney. Disney XD came to me for the first X game. He said, we'd like to sponsor a car. And they had that show, Kick Batarski, which was like a little stunt guy, a character, super fun cartoon. And they said, we'll give you. And they gave me 60 grand. They said, we give you 60 grand to do the X game. And that's what pretty much paid all my credit cards that I accumulated from drifting and everything and put me at zero. And the following year, they said, okay, we want to sponsor you for the full season. And that was with Motor City. The car was green, and I went to Reese, and I was his teammate with Reese with the Hyundai. And that's how it came out. And at the same time, Reese started to introduce me to Hollywood, to the stunt and commercials, and now I'm able to make a living out of driving cars on movies and commercials. So yeah, I started as a privateer, doing my own thing and working during the day and racing at night pretty much, and now transitioning, then I do professionally, I drive professionally now.
Let's touch a little bit on that, but I also wanted to touch a little bit about your history. Did you start on 2 wheels or 4 wheels? Like what
came up first?
Yeah.
Or are you going to be shocked on that one? So I came from a alpine skiing background. In France, when I'm in France, I was raised in a ski resort and everything, so I came from skiing. I was part of the French ski team, did a few events, starting to get pretty good, then got over the skiing. I was tired of being cold, pretty much. So moved to the US, and my dad at the time had a restaurant during the summer, and during the winter, sorry, and during the summer was into aviation. So he was a helicopter pilot. Unfortunately, died from it in a crash, but already starting to fly with him. So I decided to come to the US. My main reason to come to the US was to do my commercial license for helicopter because it's so much cheaper in France. So I came over, did it, did the commercial license, fly airplane, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And a friend of mine and I, we applied for the green card. And at the time, the green card was the lottery. We applied and both of us got it. And we're like, okay, now we stay in the US. So we stayed in the US, nothing to do with racing. I started the first car I bought, which was the Mazda I showed you, because my dad was against racing all my life. So I'm like, don't touch racing. Then when I was here, we were doing a bunch of little jobs here and there. I'm like, you know what? I got some money. I think I'm going to go into a rally. I want to try that. So went to an event called Rim of the World in Palmdale, I think in 2000 or something like that, or 99. And met a few people and bought that Mazda 323. And that was my first car. And so I was like already 31 years old when I first jumped into a race car. So I started super late compared to everybody. And from rally, that's where I met Tanner and Reese. Then went to drifting and rallycross and off-road and all that shit.
Wait a minute. So then when you actually got to X Games, you didn't have really much experience.
I know.
It wasn't like you were...
I know. X Games the first time, I had like rally background, maybe like 3 or 4 years of rally and 3 years or 4 years of drifting. But rallycross, that was my first rallycross. So we like, let's go for it.
Well, it's great that you have all these stories to tell about it. And I mean, from what you've been telling me and from what I've been watching from the outside, luckily I've been able to capture a lot of these moments in your career unknowingly, just
Yeah.
being in the same circles. It's almost like you were just born to race and be behind the wheel of a car.
I wanted to race since I remember. To the point, I think one summer my dad got a lawnmower, like a tractor lawnmower, brand new one. And I'm not kidding. I sat on it for 2 hours and they were having lunch and everything. I never moved just for him to say, okay, start it and go mow the lawn. Because I wanted to drive so bad. And I always at dinner, before they were finished, I would go in the car and just start the car and wait for them to show up. Driving is always, that's what, I just want to drive. I don't care if I can make money out of it, it's awesome. But driving, just playing with that machine, that's what I wanted. And I think that's what got me through as a privateer, all those hours of driving and grinding. People will say, no, you're crazy, you got to give up. You're not making any money, it's costing you money, but it's just so much fun to drive. It's like drifting. I love drifting. Do I watch it on TV? No, I don't care anymore. But I went last year, a friend of mine had a beat up, I think E36, and we went to Apple Valley to drift. I had a blast. And it was just by ourselves, just drifting by ourselves. Just the driving I care. The competition of it, yeah, that's how you make money. I like it, but it's not the reason I want to do it.
Yeah, but you have a Formula Drift first place champion.
That's right.
I feel like nobody can take that away from you.
The problem is, you know what? I don't even know what a trophy is. I know it's somewhere. I don't know where it's at.
Well, I remember it, and a lot of people remember it forever. So this is a good time for me to ask you a little bit about some of your favorite stunt driving moments for movies or for commercials. This is so interesting because you're getting paid to drive, but not for racing, for in front of the camera.
Yeah. Yes. And I think it's almost, the racing is fun, don't get me wrong, but there's so much pressure that comes with it because you have to perform. And actually, thanks to Ken Block, who showed then winning is not the most important thing. It's if you can build content. So now you see the new kids, they're able to, so I think they have a little bit less pressure because they don't have to win every time, see if they can put contents between the races. But our time, that's when it was started, so winning was everything. So the amount of pressure you get from winning cannot take off the pleasure of driving. Stunt work, there's a lot of pressure because you have hundreds of people counting on you that you're not going to mess up the car. But it's not the same level. You can take your time to bring it up, and give them what they want. And most of the time, what they want is you driving at 70% is what they want. You don't have to go 100% all the time. So it's completely different style, but you drive amazing stuff. Like I was on the Gran Turismo movie, and we drove GT3 cars every day, full speed, and LMP2 cars. I never driven in LMP2 cars. There's no way I can go to a team now and say, hey, let me drive the car. No, they gave me one, say, okay, Steph, you're in that car for the next 2 months. And I was like, what? And it was just, so that was, for 3 months, the only car I drove for 3 months was either a GT3 or an LMP2 car. And we were going at speed and having fun. And so that was, only in Hollywood you can do this. There's no way. And they were paying me to do it too. And so there was no clock, no time, no matter if you're 10 seconds slower than the other guy. It was just have fun with the car, make it look cool. And so that's the good part about stunt, is doing that kind of stuff. And prototype, like I said, last year we drove the first Tacoma, Toyota Tacoma. We were in Utah in those big hills and had a blast driving the car, sliding around. So it's just play around and we'll film it and make it as cool as possible, and we'll film it. And there's no pressure, just don't crash the car. That's all they want. So it's pretty much more relaxed than competing. And you have fun, and you meet, the problem with racing, everybody is your enemy. You have to look at everybody as your enemy. Even if you're really good friend with them, when you put your helmet on, you can't look at them as friends. When you're in the movies, there's no competition. We're here to make a cool product out of it. So everybody works together, whatever is the DP, the director, whoever it is, the PA, everybody's there to make the product as cool as possible. And we help each other to make it a really cool product. So it's a completely different set of stress, but it's so much fun. And you have the chance to drive amazing cars and do stupid.
That's something else. It's really cool that you're able to follow your passion, and maybe if you didn't take the path you took going into drifting and then rally, then you would maybe not have met Tanner and Reese and all these people that you work with all the time.
Exactly.
Now.
No, exactly, absolutely. Especially the drifting, I think there's plenty of rally drivers that are not able to get into stunt because they don't really know how to drift, or they don't have the reputation as drifter. And drifting, especially when Tokyo Drift came out, that's what kind of put those drivers on the spotlight. And Reese and Tanner got a lot of work because, you work on Tokyo Drift. So you even though they were great drivers before that, but that was kind of like the spotlight to put it. So everybody now, when you say, I was a professional drifter, it kind of opens a lot of doors because, that guy knows how to put a car sideways. So it definitely helped. And like you said, if I wouldn't met those guys, I think maybe I would have gone to drifting, maybe not, I don't know. But it would have put me in a completely different career path. And I think I would have given it more sports way sooner. I would have done some rally and tried to make a name for myself in rally, but unfortunately rally in the US is nothing. So I don't think it would have worked out. I would have been printing t-shirts still.
Yeah. I can't believe you were making t-shirts in the daytime.
Juggling in the winter between the ski and building the car. Then the summer was racing the car, working. It was like, it was insane. There's no way I could do that now. I'll die after a week. But it makes it more rewarding. When you do when you win, it's like, it makes it, people don't understand. They say, he's happy and everything. And guys like Reese couldn't understand Tanner because they see my life. They know where I'm coming from. And when you finally get that win, it validates you. Say, that was all worth it. I knew I could do it, and I did it. Unfortunately, that's the only one I got, but still, it's one.
you say that, but there's still some people that are competing now that have never even won one.
That's true. Yeah. And the competition now is just insane. You see the cars. I had the chance to drive Hasbro's car, like was it the TC, the one with the Need for Speed? For Fast and Furious, the number 8, whatever. He was busy, he was out of the country, and Steph called me and said, hey, can you drive the car for us during the day? I'm like, yeah. So we went to Willow, and he was just doing like a bunch of, and I drove that car, and first time I sliding, I think I'm going to drift. I'm thinking I'm going to spin. And I'm like, wait a minute, whoa, there's still more steering. I'm like, it's impossible to drift that thing, to spin that thing. And I got out of that car, I was like, are you kidding me? So no wonder you guys do backward entry. There's like so much steering angle. You can't. It's impossible to spin the car, and it was so much fun to see the difference from. It was the top car at the time, and I hadn't been in a car in like maybe 3 years, 3 or 4 years, and how quickly it developed. As soon as they figured out the steering, but I was like, oh my God, that car is insane. We never even plugged the nitrous. We were just on motor the entire time. He's like, we didn't even need the nitrous for that stuff. I'm like, are you kidding me? That car is insane. The grip that car had, everything was, and that was what, 6 years ago? 7 years ago? So I can only imagine now the level. You can see those cars, they're on 3 wheels on acceleration. It's insane.